Hello, welcome back to IT Landy Nugget courses. This time we will continue with the container setup environment. Again, the Fab Medical package, which is Microsoft, providing to play with. It's available online. Should allow us to have all the prereq, like Node.js, other stuff, APIs, the workflow, and so on. Now, what we need to do here, we need to download it. Yeah, you can download this one, or you can download. There are 3 or 4 or even 5 examples Microsoft they listing. You can utilize as well. Yeah. So how we can download this startup file or starter files? We again navigate to the WSL. If you are not familiar with this, please go to the earlier sessions, install it, do the configuration on WSL, come back here, and then run the following command basically. Yeah, you can see your SSH, browse to it and see the, WSL. I think version 2 is the latest. Download the starter file. You can curl from, if you assume you have internet connection, to the link below, and that should basically download the TAS, uh, dot, TGZ or TAS we call it, file. Now, what you need to do after you download it, make a directory, call it Fab Medical or whatever you want to call it, and then tar /c to that file basically, and that will be, unpack, or this is basically will unzip, if you want to call it, all the content from the tgz into xzf, which is mean the list of the files. And then after that, you need to cd to that directory you created. So what we did, we download it as a compressed, then we unzip it into a directory which we created. Okay, so we can list it as well by running the ls command, see what's inside it. So, or you can do ll. You will see list of all the content. We have the content API and we have the content hyphen web. So we have 2 folders sitting underneath that file, download file. Okay. Keep this WSL window open as your build agent SSH connection. You will later open a new session for another machine. Okay. Next, we will have an exercise that might take again 40 minutes to accomplish. It's a depend on you. Uh, so this time we're going to create and run a Docker application. In this exercise, you will take starter file, run Node.js application, Docker application, and then you create the Docker file. Docker file is where we specify all the information we need, and then we execute it. Okay. Now, for exercise 2, we have a few tasks. First task is testing the application. The purpose of this task is to make sure you can run application successfully before applying changes to run it in Docker application. Yeah. Again, from WSL window, cd content API folder, and then what you need to do, you need to do npm install. If you are not familiar with Node.js work, npm works, please go and read about it. This will install all the dependency, the files, the libraries. So typically in your pipeline, I'm expecting this to be through the artifact, and you don't need to run it every time you run your pipeline. Yeah, you do it once and you reference it. Then you start up the application. After that, you do like Node.js and server.js. That will basically start the API process, the background. Then you press enter, and that should take us to, the next step where we specify, the local host. We browse to it. So, and you can see that it's on port 3001. Then you can navigate your web page application directory and run the npm install and allow the, again, background process to finish. Ignore the warning message, and that should not impact what you do, and then you just run it. So what we did, just to clarify, first we did navigate to the first API one. We moved to the API. We installed, sorry, when I say moved, we navigated through CD to the API directory, and we did npm install, and then we run the Node.js, again, server.js startup. Yeah, we start the process. And then we navigated back, cd dot dot to go out to the main directory, and now to go to cd into the web, and then do npm install, and then do the Node.js start. Similar to the previous one, please do remember, when we unpacked the file from Microsoft, we had 2 directories. We are installing the npm in each one of them because one of them is for web application. The second one basically is like a middleware API, yeah? So it's like two. Otherwise, why you need to do the npm each one of them, yeah? Next, after browsing to the local host, so 3001, maybe just go back, please, to show you. 3001, that will be the API itself, yeah? You browse to it, like speakers. And 3000, the browsing will be the web application, which means it will load the, the web main primary page, okay? Leave the application running, do not close it, unless we start, the enablement of browsing to our web application. Again, in this task, we need to open the port here on the VM so we can consume it. From the Azure portal, select the users group, which we created earlier. Select network security group, NSG, yeah. And then let's we go to the inbound security. If you remember, I did highlight this one for the RDP. This time, not only RDP and SSH, we're going to do the agent itself, like the port, 3000 and 3001. Select the source, any port, destination any, and the range of the port is 3000. Protocol any, allow, leave it, priority, whatever, you want to give priority, and then allow. Now, this is a test where we are doing a lab testing. In reality, you're not going to allow this, yeah? When it says source, the source will be the IP address, yes, of what? Of this VM where you have the agent installed on it, yeah? Where you publish to it, okay? Just make sure, remember that. Here we are playing with it, that's why we left it just like that here. Production, you cannot allow that source any, otherwise we get bombarded. Even if your cluster is not publicly available, we have to secure as much as we can, yeah? Something like that. You can see how that will look like, the NSG, and you allow it. You can see port 22. We did not cover that earlier, but we assume 22 and RDP, they were allowed, yeah? But again, here we go. And then click OK, save, and do the same thing, on the other one. From the virtual machine, blade, find the IP address, which is the public IP address. Navigate to web application using your public IP address with the port itself, and then you can browse to it. So earlier we were browsing into like local IP. This time we can browse to the external one. But again, you can do source IP, target IP with the port. Now you select the speaker session, and then that should be it. And then you can kill all Node.js. Basically, we are stopping everything. So what we have done here, a quick recap before we do the Dockerfile. We created a port forwarding, if that makes sense to you. So on the virtual machines, we downloaded the files or the examples, which is using Node.js. And then after we downloaded the examples, what we did, we extracted, we unzip, the TAS or TGZ into the directory which we created earlier, or you can just unzip it to the root on the WSL, and then we cd into the folder or directory, which has two directories, one for web, one for API. Now, what we did after this, we went to navigate to each one of these. We installed the npm, and then we started the Node.js server process. After they started, what we did, we set up the port, and we browsed to each one of these ports, like 3001 for API, 3000 it's for the web page. And the last part, what we did, we went to the portal, to the browser, and we opened the NSG basically for that one, otherwise it will not work. Why did we do this? So when we publish from the machine with the agent into the AKS, we can browse to it basically. That's all what I have for you for exercise, let's we call it 1, which is set up the environment, and then exercise 2, which is the configuration. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for